We're going to continue with Pirkei Avos, the ethics of our fathers. And let us go to the screen. And let's see what the screen is screaming. I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. So this screen is screaming Pirkei Avos. Okay. We are number 16. We finished with what Hillel and Shammai, what they shared. And now we're going into a new era. Hillel and Shammai, they finished with the pairs, as they're called. Pairs meaning that, hey, look at that. I have a pair here. It's spelled differently. The pairs of leaders. And now came to a new time period. This is several decades before the destruction of the Second Holy Temple. So Hillel passed away the year 8. Shammai, I think somewhere thereafter, I don't recall exactly. And Rebbe Gamliel, if you notice, he's got a title, Rabban. Like the word Rav, Rebbe, teacher, is the reference. And he's the first to have a title. So title actually means you're lesser of a person. No title, you're greater. Hillel didn't have a title. Shammai didn't have a title. Avtalia, and before that, they didn't. So this is now individual leaders, no longer pairs. And Rabban is the term of the titles. So Rabban Gamliel, mentioned it was the last few decades before the destruction of the Second Temple. And remember, the Romans were very much in control of the land of Israel. Jews having difficulties. He instituted laws, Tikkun Ha'olam. Tikkun Ha'olam literally means fixing the world. He affixed new laws that were necessary because of the times, people that you're living with, and mixed in with the non-Jewish, element of the time. And therefore, he said, because of the locale of everybody mixed and living together, so he made a law that you must greet another person. And you have to greet a non-Jew. In other words, an obligation, as opposed to, it's a good idea. It's a nice idea. We don't have that in, Canadian or American law or any kind of law that there's an obligation. You must greet a person. Very instant, you must greet. Not only that, you have to support non-Jewish people that are poor. In other words, an obligation, not a nicety, but an obligation. That we have an obligation. You have to visit non-Jewish sick, the sick that are non-Jewish. We have an obligation to visit them. We have to bury their dead. And he said we have to do this, not because there is an inherent obligation to do so, because there isn't. There's an inherent obligation we have for a fellow Jew to do that, right? Now, again, we're talking about obligation, and this is very key to understand. Think about any other form of governance or form of community responsibilities, and where do you have that there's an obligation? That's a good idea. You'll get great merit and reward is one thing, but that you're obliged to do is another thing. He instituted that these things are an obligation. And the reason is for the sake of peace. For the sake of peace. In other words, if people are going to see that we only take care of our own, that will, even though that's the responsibility we have, think about it. You know, a family. Am I obliged to take care of my neighbors? No, not obliged. But I'm obliged to take care of my own kids. So what's mine, I'm obliged. What's not mine, I'm not obliged. So for a Jew, what's mine? A fellow Jew. Why is a fellow Jew mine? Why is a fellow Jew mine? Because that's what I am. I'm a Jew. That's who I am in my identity, in my being. So then what's mine is going to be my fellow Jew. So because of that, comes from that an inherent connection, therefore obligation. But someone who isn't Jewish, they're not mine. No, not mine. So there's no inherent obligation. But comes Rabban Gamliel and says, you know what? If we're only going to take care of ourselves, then we will create animosity. And God doesn't want that. God wants peace. So we need to take care of them. So he makes it an obligation that you need to take care. That's a very phenomenal idea when you think about it. In other words, the sensitivity is so great that we don't want to create animosity. And from animosity, who knows what that can create? That now you become obliged to take care of another. I don't even think that exists anywhere in the world besides Jewish teachings, right? From a Jewish perspective, from Judaism, from Torah, from the connection that there is with a fellow Jew, that's mine. I have a responsibility. You're my child, I have a responsibility. You're my fellow Jew, I have a responsibility because it's mine. But here we're that which is not mine, because of the sensitivity that we need to have, how others will look at us and that could create the animosity, we need to consider that. Which is like, think about it, like others, hey, you have animosity because we take everything. So you learn and take care of your own. Learn from us. What? Expecting from us? So on one level, you could, say that, and there's a truth to that. What are you having coming to us? Right? Because we take care. I get this. You get this from non-Jews. Oh, you guys you know how to take care of your own. It's true. By the way, just to give you an idea what that means. There's about 90,000 Jews in Montreal. Just the Federation alone raises about $40 to $50 million from 90,000 Jews. Sontrade, which is the global collecting arm of the non-Jewish world, that collects from 3.5 million people, collects $50 million. Same thing. Maybe a little more they collect. Maybe a little more. Means all the corporations, like all the big corporations to give money, right? To look good. Wonderful. To look community-minded. Wonderful. But they collect almost the same. How come? Because outside of the Jewish world, there's not so much, this is mine. This is my community. This is my people. And therefore I'm obliged to give. So you give. The average person in Quebec, I think what they give is maybe $100, $200 a year. Average, they have it like based on tax receipts. So they know what, based on tax receipts, what people claim back. I don't know, it's 100, 200. I think Quebec, we're lower than some other places. It might be $300, $400, I don't know a Jew that, would give so little unless they're making, $300-400 a year. Thousands of dollars. Why? Mine. Therefore, I feel responsibility. Comes now Rabban Gamliel and says we have to go the step further. We need to take care of others. We don't want to create animosity. Torah is a Torah of peace, and therefore we want to create peace amongst the people that we live with and to forgive. I feel actually very bad when even to give, and it might be to someone who's a drug addict, I don't even know, when they're going between cars at the red light and people are coming with a cup trying to, get money. So if I have a coin, I'm not going to give something, that's significant because I don't know who I'm giving it to. And quite often I feel that it's, may not be, going to a worthy cause. But if I have a coin, so I'll give. And one of the things that motivates me is that I don't want to create, I kind of look Jewish. And I don't want to create animosity. I don't want to create the animosity. So this is Rabban Gamliel. He also, in the Jewish community, he instituted that shrouds for burial should be taken from inexpensive material. People who were wealthy, they would spend a lot of money in shrouds to bury the dead. And those who were poor, who had very, meager, shrouds, they felt ashamed at the time of burial to bury their loved ones. So he instituted that everybody wears the same kind of shrouds, simple linen, and nothing more, which is what we do today, as a matter of fact. No distinction, one person over another. Oh, I see that, Liba, you have your hand up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Rabbi. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Are we obligated to take care of our enemy?
Well, I don't know what that means. What enemy, like your neighbor who said a nasty word to you? Or your enemy that wants to kill you?
More so the enemy that wants to kill you. Like I think of Israel and how they take care of the Syrians and they'll take care of the people from the West Bank.
Right.
So
that's a good question. That's a very good question. So actually, I just heard a video, and it's a beautiful video. I should probably play it. Amazing video. No, I don't know how would I be. I should actually play it. What the Rebbe says there is said very much. It's actually amazing video. Hold on 1 second. Give me a moment. Let me see. It is definitely worthy. Sorry. Here's what I was in. Oh, got it. Look at that. If you don't mind, I'm going to share this with you. Okay, if you don't mind. See here?
Is unter demot nieder Sede. Am darf sitzen und warten, bis wann nicht alle Goyim und Maskim sei. Und mit Pasken in dem Dien in einer Sife von 119 Members von Goyim. Also der
Hold on.
Schaas me weiß, dass
Sorry, do you see it here?
Schaas me weiß, dass da einer was
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you
Yes.
see it.
Yes,
Okay.
that's good.
So he's speaking about when someone is coming to kill you. Exactly what you asked, Liba. This is amazing.
Bolle Orgo ist unter demot nieder Sede. Am darf sitzen und warten, bis wann nicht alle Goyim und Maskim sei. Und mit Pasken in dem Dien in einer Sife von 119 Members von Goyim. Also der Goy wird am soll ihm schmeißen. Und unter dem wird machen eine Sife von dem Minyaniden. Als seine Nechet Maske mit den 119 Goyim, nie dass der Seder auf mit dem, was hat, was Abolle Horder. Wir darf nur wissen, sie das Abolle Horder. Weil sie kommen das wissen das von der Mitte. Es kann sein, ein Jahr war Hashem, ist ein frommer Goy. Und als kommt Sonntag, geht in den Bocken Pläne. Und dort misspallen. Und schreibt, dass Morgen gesagt, aber schaß mir der geben ein Patsche Nebenbad, soll sie unterstellen die zweite Bad. Aber das meinten die Mieden, sagt nicht er. Bämt das einfach verkehrt, geht doch mal ein Patsche Mieden in rechte Bad, darf der unterstellen die linke Bad. Der will geben, Pula Stagmel, will schlagen zurück. Hai doch, und sie legen das Zesek war Jesche, wie tut das zusammen sagt. Früh bringt dem Dien im Besten. In die UN, dort sich zusammenkleiden, die alle Anoschen Tzadikin wie Schori. Und dennoch werden sie aufpassen, wie der Ding von dem, was hat geschossen. Und dennoch wirst du Michel sein uns dem Folgen. Sagt die Tere, nein, nicht, dass sie der Seder. Nicht nur, dass sie nicht der Seder verlieren. Dem Goy macht das keine. Aber der Goy weiß, als Bolle Orgel. Und du schickst da rein ein Papier, sich einer Deni Hakazak. Als wie du willst, gehen schlagen an jeden. Soll sie wissen sein, dass das ein gegen dem Charter, bemehle Macht früher an der Sife und fragt bei sie Arische, wo der, wo du sich nächsten schön geschlagen, mehle verfallen, tak tut Schuhe. Wo der Weile schlocken dort, und man schießt dort, und man wart dort, und wachulu, sind aber kommen in der Zeit, werden sie bezogen. Wollten sie bezogen mit der Reinschicken, aber Briefel, sich einer, den ja gesagt, was getan an Narlein gegen den Charter. Und dennoch ist das Bali Molle zu niederpschat, als sich aufstellen beim Schlagen der Mieden. Als mit dem Zugewinnen, als wegschlagen der Mieden, verschlagt der Goy. Und beschaut der Goy hat ihn reingespart, 100 Millionen und 200 Millionen und 300 Millionen, schreibt an ein Papier, Amikano, habe heute das Scheich ist sehr. Und mir jemand bei Matasse, hast du mir Lateine? Der lange Juel, was siehst du, du kriegst dich mit mir? Hast du Lateine, ich habe zugenommen deine 500 Millionen Dollar, ich habe Lateine gelegt. Wer zwischen uns mit Ware sein, hat ihn da weggestellt, habe ich mich mit in Den Haag, weggestellt habe ich mich mit in New York, mit mäßig mit Mann, noch einem nicht genieden, der zweiten nicht genieden, der dritten nicht genieden, und sie dort zählig bleiben. Derweil will ich zunehmen deine Geld, danach will ich zunehmen deine Schiefen, danach will ich zunehmen deine Maschinen. Danach hat du hast bei mir deinem Vorstehen, setz ich mal rein in die Füße. Wo denn das macht, aber Itzaku, von was das nicht geschrien, wenn man geschlagen hat, Jeden?
That was like, I don't know if you got the tongue in cheek what the Rebbe said. Very much tongue in cheek. But like, wow. This was said somewhere in the 70s, a long time ago. Yeah, someone's coming to kill you. Jewish law is you kill them first. That's what Jewish law is. Not, the niceties that we're talking about over here, to not, for the sake of peace, we're going to, for the sake of peace, we'll do goodness. So absolutely, if we can do goodness, we should do goodness. But if it's someone that is with the intent to do harm to us, that's a whole different story entirely.
So he's saying like it's better to, then what is the expression? Ask for permission?
Well, here he's making tongue in cheek to ask permission from the UN.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're gonna ask permission from the UN. Can you retaliate? Like, yeah, right. That's what the the non-Jewish world wants from the Jews, is that we need to ask permission, because we Jews have always been asking permission for the last 2,000 years. We don't have a right to do on our own, and that's what he says.
Yeah. Had to go through the courts.
So that's not the Jewish way. The Jewish way is someone who comes and wants to do harm to you, you rise up and you, if you just, cut their legs off before killing them, shoot them in the legs if that's going to stop them. The only thing is going to stop them is by actually killing them. Then it's a mitzvah to kill them. Because someone is coming after you, the Jewish law, it's interesting. It said in the verse in the Torah, it says, Zarcha Shemesh, and the Rebbe quotes, if it's clear to you, Zarcha Shemesh, clear like the sun shining, that that it's clear to you that Bar Lahargo, coming to kill you, Hashkim v'Hargo Tchila, that you have to get up and the halacha is you have to kill them first. And killing is only if that's the only thing you can do in self-defense. And this is coming about a thief coming and stealing from you, right? A thief is coming, thief with a gun, right? But he's coming to be a thief, right? But if there's clarity that this guy might do harm to you, then you have permission to kill that person. Now, if you can stop the person by just shooting them in the leg and not killing them, then then you're not allowed to murder that person. That's not self-defense. But if the only way is that, then that's called self-defense. And it's a mitzvah to do it. Oh, because it says, because that person is called Ein Loi Dam. He has no blood. He's not considered, at that point, when someone is after someone else to kill somebody, they're considered dead meat. And therefore you can kill them. That's how they're considered by Jewish law. The verse says it, Ein Loi Dam, has no blood, right? Blood is what gives life. That's the phraseology. So so we have that extreme, right? Which we need to.
Can I ask something real quick?
Sure, go ahead, Katie.
I always walk half.
This
is Torah studies, right?
No, we're doing Pirkei Avos.
Okay, maybe my Wi-Fi connection's not so.
Okay, go ahead. It's better now.
I was walking halfway through this. I'm confused by what's being talked about right now. So what are we talking about? This is Torah study, right?
Yeah, we just
I just hear about murdering stuff and whoa.
Here, let me just share with you over here. We are doing this Mishnah over here. Rabbi Gamliel would say, but I didn't even get into what he said. We didn't even get to what he said. We just spoke about Rabbi Gamliel and the greatness of Rabbi Gamliel and what he brought to the table of that there should not be animosity amongst the Jews and their neighbors, non-Jewish neighbors, who the Romans were the conquerors of Israel at that time. This is before the destruction of the Second Holy Temple, but they were in control of the land, and there were many non-Jews that lived there. No Palestinians, mind you. No Palestinians, but non-Jews that lived there, and he instituted different things that we need to do in order not to create animosity amongst our non-Jewish neighbors. That's what from there, Levi asked a question about someone who has animosity towards a Jew, so much so that they want to kill. How do we deal with that person based on what we just learned here? And that's where we went off, and that's where I quoted, brought the Sikha from the Rebbe. People, did you enjoy the video, everybody? Yeah? Yeah, powerful.
Yes, definitely.
Rabbi,
Yes, Shaul, go ahead.
I was just saying things don't change much, eh?
No. And that's why Jewish law is eternal, because there are certain things that, don't change. Things don't change. People are people, and, things are things, and they don't change. So the Torah is eternal with its message. We just need to have the wisdom to know what applies where, what law applies where. And with that, that's a perfect segue into Rabban Gamliel. Thank you, Shaul. We're on a tour together. Okay, let's go into what Rabban Gamliel says. Gamliel would say, assume for yourself a master, a seilach harav. He's telling me a suffix, stay away from doubts. And do not accustom yourself to tithe by estimation. So, a seilacha, I don't know, I don't like the translation, assume for yourself. To make for yourself. A say is to make. I don't know why assume. For yourself, a master, a rav. So the Rambam says that means halachic authority that you ask questions to, not a teacher. Not a teacher. Because we learned earlier about a teacher, right? We learned, hold on. Anybody remember? Yeshua ben Prachia says,
appoint yourself a teacher and make yourself a friend or whatnot.
Make it, right. It says, Aseh lecha rav, make for yourself. Well, actually, it's interesting. Here he says, Aseh lecha rav, make for yourself a teacher. And there it's speaking about a teacher. And here it's Aseh lecha rav. It's actually the same words. Interesting. So obviously, it's not redundancy. So the Rambam says here it means to have a halachic authority in your life. Now, why a halachic authority in your life? Because then he's stalig min suffix. Then you will remove yourself from doubt, because what might happen is if you don't have a rabbinic authority to ask your halachic questions, then you're going to be in doubt in certain areas, and you need to remove yourself from doubt. So you need to have that rabbi who is helping you in halacha, in what you need to do, and therefore the third thing that ties in with it, then you will not estimate by tithing. In other words, you won't give more even. So the law is, tithing is here not speaking about tzedakah. It's not speaking about 10% that that one is obligated to give today, because that's in the reference to today that you have to give 10% of your net earnings to charity, right? Not referencing that. It's in reference to tithing. The original form of tithe is from the produce that you have. You have to give 10% to the Levites. Levites didn't have a portion of the land of Israel. They served in the Holy Temple, and therefore, so to speak, for the barter between the divine service that they did and the people that worked, and they didn't work, that was their work. So where are they going to get sustenance? Tithing. So they gave 10%. Well, what if you're not going to be so exact and you're going to give more? So you can make sure you're not doing anything in doubt. So he says, no. You shouldn't do that. Because if you give 11%, not 10%, then it becomes questionable the entire tithe, because the tithe the Levite can use. But if he's getting more than 10%, then that other 1%, And which part is the 1%? It's all of it. Becomes not part of the tithes and therefore needs to be tithed. It needs to be tithed, right? Tithe means that part that is meant for the Levite. And now you're taking it and you're giving more. Just, because you don't want to be in doubt, right? We just said, take away doubt. So you'll give more. Don't give more because you're creating a problem, because now the whole thing becomes something that the Levite can't use as is. So how do you get out of that? Say l'charav, make sure you have a rabbi that you ask questions to. So that way you won't be in doubt. And then you're not going to say, oh, well, listen, so I'll just go beyond. I'll do better because of the doubt. No. Don't do better, because by doing better, you're doing worse. By giving more, you're doing worse as a result. So therefore, get out of doubt by making sure you have a proper halachic authority that you ask your questions to. Furthermore, sometimes what you might do when you're in doubt, so you're going to be more stringent in your mind, right? We just gave an example here, but another example. You're not certain, is this kosher, not kosher? Well, you're going to go stringent, not kosher. You're going stringent on that, but perhaps what you're doing is making an unnecessary loss of money. So by prohibiting this thing, and not only that, as a result, this chicken can't be used to be eaten on Shabbos because you're being stringent and you're not going to use it. So the chicken's not getting his aliyah, not getting used for Shabbos. It was get elevated. So you're not allowing that chicken to get its fulfillment of being on a Shabbos table, eaten by a Jew on Shabbos for the honor and pleasure of Shabbos. So you're being stringent, you think, is really, on the flip side, you're taking something away that could have been used in a mitzvah. So when in doubt, so that's why you need a halachic authority that's going to help you, so you will remove yourself from doubt. And then you will do things that will be do things that, in your eyes seem to be, oh, you're being holier than thou, but really the opposite is happening. Now, our sages tell us that the gematria of suffix, doubt, is the same gematria as Amalek, the Amalekis. What does that mean? What's the correlation between the Amalekis and doubt? So they're the first ones to attack the Jewish people in the desert, right? They're the idea, they pour cold water on spiritual enthusiasm. Here the Jews are enthused to go to Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. And even before that, the Amalekis come and attack them. That's the idea of Amalek. And that's the idea. Doubt is that when you are inspired, you're enthused, then someone can just, like make with their eyes, right? And just make it, I like that. You know what that does to a person? Can kill it all. Can just pull cold water and bring doubt. You were so sure, so clear about whatever truth in your connection to Hashem and in your purpose that you need to fulfill. And then someone who is, what's the word? Kind of the Amaleki spirit right? It makes light of everything, is negative. And here says you're enthused about something. Oh, wow, I didn't know you're so religious. Oh, you're really holier than thou, right? Trying to do what? Cold water over the enthusiasm, the warmth that you have for the good that you're doing. That's Amalek. How do you get out? How do you liberate yourself from this? How do you liberate yourself from this? Have that teacher. Have that halachic authority. Here, the Rambam says it's halachic authority. Other commentators are speaking about a teacher. Interesting. I don't know how do they deal with the fact that this is a repetition. It's the exact same words as earlier in halacha 6. We're in 16 and 6. It's the same words as Selach Harav. I don't know how those commentaries deal with the fact that, if there it's speaking about a teacher and here it's speaking about a halachic authority. Okay, so, but the truth is it's the exact same words. No distinction. I just.
How are they different?
Well, a
thought
teacher
it
is
was the
a
same.
teacher is a teacher, and the halachic authority means, Jewish law that you have a question, whether it's about, how much money to give to charity, and is this a charitable a cause that I can give to, and the like,
They sound the same to me, but
there is similarity. That's true, and it might be the same person that does both. That's true, Katie. It could be the same person that provides both for you. Absolutely. But the Rambam learns that this is what it means here, halachic authority, and over there it means a teacher, a mentor, right? A teacher, a mentor doesn't mean it doesn't have to be the one who's your halachic authority, right? A teacher mentor is more spiritual guidance. Halacha is more, this is how much money I make a week. How much do I have to give to charity? Is this a suitable charity that I can give to? Right? That's halachic issue as opposed to, mentoring, with issues that you're dealing with on a personal level, or a guy, or a teacher who's just there as a teacher, as a guide. So this is the idea over here, that we need to free ourselves. So there's a story that's told of Reb Shmelke of Nikolsburg. Anybody been in Nikolsburg recently? Neither have I, ever.
And where is Nikolsburg?
I don't know. I don't know. It must be half away from a dime.
Okay.
I know it's probably somewhere in Ukraine or Ukraine, Russia, and in those areas there. I'd have to look on a map, an old map, but something to that effect. So he is a famous Hasidic giant, and he lives in the times of the Baal Shem Tov, Mizitcher Magid. Alter Rebbe probably overlapped a bit. I think he was older than the Alter Rebbe. And the famous Reb Yecheskel Landau, who's called the Noida B'Yehuda, who wasn't a Chassid, a great scholar, a great halachic authority. And he said, what's this about, that you spend time to go to the Maggid of Mezerich, and you're wasting your time from studying Torah? What's, you have to understand, these are people that literally every moment, oh, look at that. Virginia, she's found on, from Google Rabbi in the Czech Republic. Okay. Thank you. Look at that.
And it actually mentions Rab Shmelke in there.
Yeah, okay, beautiful, thank you. All right. So, you're talking about people, that they don't waste a moment. So why are you spending that time going to the Mizitcher Magid to spend time by him, right? When you have your Torah that you are not learning in the same manner in that time. So he says, listen, the Torah portion of Yisrael, Moshe's father-in-law converts to Judaism, right? He embraces Judaism. And it starts off the Torah portion, Vayishma Yisrael. And Yisrael heard. So Rashi asks, Ma shamu shama, shiba uba. What did he hear that brought him to come? So Rashi says, he heard about the splitting of the sea and Amalek. The Amalekis, right? Remember, we just spoke about the Amalekis, that they were started up with the Israelites before giving the Torah, right? So he says, listen, if he was converting to Judaism, he didn't have to come to Moshe. Why did he come? Because he says, Yisro couldn't understand. How could the Amalekis attack the Jews? The whole world knows what the Jews just went through. They escaped Egypt. 2 million people. 10 plagues that, destroys Egypt, and the Jews are okay. Splitting of the sea. All of that, and the Amalekis start up with the Jewish people. So he concluded that obviously from this you see that the evil inclination is so skillful that even though it's so apparent that the Jewish people are this special people, and this is even before the giving of the Torah, but leaving Egypt and everything, that the evil inclination is so skillful that it can cast doubts even on things that are so obvious and certain. So even though I am certain of the truth of the Torah, there's no question, I'm so certain that I would not be misled. But you know what? It can happen to anyone. The only way that it won't happen, that you get yourself out of doubt, which is the gematria of Amalek, he explained it. Make for yourself a Rebbe. You need a Rebbe. So I go to my Rebbe, Mizitcher Magid, because there will be times that I will have clarity, but the skillful ways of the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, will try to creep inside of me and create doubts. Thank you, Shaul. Create doubts, and therefore I need to do everything to make sure I remove myself from doubts. Make for yourself a Rebbe. So here he explains it not as a halachic authority, but as a holy, saintly individual, as the Rebbe, as the Alter Rebbe, as our dear Rebbe, and so on. And that's today's. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? Yeah, Baruch Hashem, beautiful stuff. Thank you all for coming and joining. David, that just came, and Katie, that just came already. Everybody else, I think I said hello to. Yes? Oh, Sarah, maybe I didn't. Michael. Yeah, we should watch the Israel video. Yeah, maybe tomorrow we're going to watch some more. Well, you want to see the second half of the video tomorrow? Really? Yeah? Who wants? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. All right. Tomorrow, God willing. Thank you, folks. God bless you all. Have a good day.
Yeah,
Thank
you,
you,
Rabbi.
Rabbi Fine.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rabbi
Evening.
Fine.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Gesund.